And you know, I have Steppin with Marcus J. Thank you, everybody, that stayed with us this late hour. We're going to get through our rants and we're going to get through our closings. Always got our guests going first. Tony, we know you got to run. Joy, we see you peacing out right now. We know it's late. Appreciate everybody that stayed with us. Tony, you up first. What you got?
Just want to say I had a great time with you guys as always. I'm glad that Big Roo finally smiled and gave me a hug, and now life is complete. So, yeah, y'all have a good night. Be safe. Have a wonderful week, and stay warm. It's about to get cold again.
Oh, my goodness.
Listen to it on your phone because if you hear me scream,
Don't scream.
come help me.
Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. All right, Tony, thank you so much for staying with us for as long as you had. It's time for my sister SY to get through her moments. And what you got, sis?
Tony. Bye, Tony. I just had to say bye to Tony. And had to hug Tony, y'all. Okay. As always, thanks for listening. Again, like every week, if you all weren't listening, we wouldn't be talking. Hey, I kind of like that line.
Which one? Which line?
The one I just said. If y'all weren't listening, we wouldn't be talking.
Oh, word. Yeah.
Yeah.
I missed it. I was saying goodbye to Tony.
I know. Whatever. But no, next week I have another healthy segment.
Word.
So again, tonight, just kind of go take a look at that site if you didn't, look at it tomorrow. And talk to you next week.
And I asked Steppin with Marcus J. It's time for Big Rube. It's time for the smash. Big Rube, I need you to smash him, brother. What you got, brother?
Big Rube, smash. Got something a little different today. I kind of wish I was in New York, on Sunday. Because it was, if I'm correct, the 13th annual No Pants Subway Ride. No Pants Subway Ride. So, basically, everybody who rode the subway, well, for the most part, didn't have on pants. Now, yeah, it was a little cold, but hey, it'd be pretty sweet. Sometimes they said this year about 3,000 to 4,000 people did it. From young kids to people, 3 months to people who are 71 years old. Now, it's kind of cold and stuff. Don't get me wrong. It is. I was looking through the article yesterday. And I was like, last night, I was like, oh, this is pretty sweet. Now, let's just be honest, for full disclosure. I would be there to see it and to, do a news story on it. There ain't nowhere in this green earth I'm walking in my underwear on the subway. It ain't happening. One, because it's cold. And two, man, I can't have all the women because they would just get whatever. We're not getting to that. We're not ready to X this week. Maybe next week. But, I thought it was pretty cool because who does that? 13 years ago, 12 years ago, some dude decided, hey, let's do it. First he had a couple people. Now he's got with 3,000 or 4,000 people riding the subway with no pants on. I mean, shoes and underwears. And that was a rule. You had to wear underwear. Clearly you can't be rolling through New York naked, for obvious reasons. But, it's pretty cool. They got a couple stops on the subway that people got off and people got on with underwear on. SY's looking at me like I'm crazy. Like, really, this happens. But yes, not everything bad happens in New York.
Was this the first time it happened?
Okay, let's try this one more time. This is the 13th annual. Yeah, which I said earlier. But the thing about it is, we always hear about shootings and horrible NYPD cops and all this stuff. But we never really hear about the $1 million or so that Jay-Z made from the Barney's thing. We never hear about all the good stuff that happens and all the fun stuff that happens. Because New York has this negative aura that, you go to New York, you're going to get shot, son. They're going to rob you. They're going to shoot you. They're going to beat you up. And everybody's a bunch of thugs. And that's not true. Haven't been to New York myself. haven't been to Times Square at 4 o'clock in the morning, okay, it can get a little sketchy, but you shouldn't be walking by yourself anywhere at 4 o'clock in the morning. And that's just real. But if you're going to walk anywhere at 4 o'clock in the morning, Times Square is probably a place to do it. But I digress. They had over 1,200 people sign up on Facebook. And to be perfectly honest, should we do this in RVA? I don't know if we're ready for that yet. However, I think that we should do something. I'm not saying I'm going to organize it, but you know what? It's nothing wrong walking around in your boxes. You do it in the summer, is people do that anyway. People walk around in their bathing suit stuff all the time. But it's crazy. Now, I'm glad they did it when it was like 55 degrees outside. Because if it would have been like last week, hell no. Ain't no way happening. But you know what? It is what it is. That's something interesting and kind of fun that happens in New York. Maybe Richmond will decide to do something interesting and fun. But I guarantee, subway lines, New York City, does not matter where.
It does, because I've never heard of it.
Well,
I've never heard of it. That's why I'm asking.
You want to know why you never heard of it? Because it's one of the few good things that nobody talks about. Because there are a whole lot of good things that nobody talks about. And this is one of them.
I'm sure I would have bumped into that.
I mean, unless you're on the subway on, what's today? Like on the same Sunday every year, then you wouldn't have heard about this. But hey, it is what it is. I'm just glad that I have the opportunity to let everybody know that, you know what? New York isn't about just thugs and gangsters. It's also about people wearing boxers and no pants, too. It's Big Roo. It's a smash. I mean, it's cold out there. And I give big ups for all those dudes who wore boxers, because that couldn't have been your boy.
Ain't no Steppin with Marcus J. Big Rube and the Smash. We appreciate it. We're running through this late hour, so I just want to real quick go through a couple of thank yous. Thank you, Jay Grizzy, comedian S. Lissa P. of the Wednesday night show, Green Room version 2.0 with Jay Grizzy and Lissa P. Both were listening, both participated in the show. Jay Grizzy with a call, Lissa P. with a comment. Stephen Sykes and Live and Radio hit us up. We had said, what up, bruh? And Joy and Michelle listening to us as well. I had my sister Kim listening to us. I have my True Fighter sister Melanie listening to us, and my brother Neil was listening to us. Then a host of other people from across the country. I appreciate it. Thank you to everybody. It's time for me to get into my rant and my closing. Thank you for staying with me and my crew at this late hour. Again, just indulge me for a minute, and I'll be sure to get us out of here real quick. Two quick things I want to cover in my rant tonight. The overall theme is people we just got to do better. We had a middle school in my adopted hometown right here in Richmond, Virginia today, brings a gun to school. I was on the news today. Richmond, Virginia, a kid brings a gun to school in middle school. Also today, a middle schooler in my real hometown of Jersey City, New Jersey, brings a gun to school. Both of those stories break today. What the hell is going on? We just got to do better, and this is our fault. These children and children like them have access to guns. I did my rant last week about a law student who was confronted by a police officer with a legal gun, and I got some backlash from people because I supported the man's questioning the police officer who questioned him. But this is different. We talking about kids accessing guns and bringing them to school. And how many of these stories do we hear, or how many stories I should say do we have to hear before we are outraged by it? Both of these cases I referenced ended up with the children being arrested with no injuries. But we are well versed on what happens when the children are not caught before it's too late. We all know about the Second Amendment, which gives folks the rights to bear arms. I'm not arguing that. We do that another time. What I'm arguing is how careless a person must be to let anyone, especially a child, not only know where they keep their gun, but allowing them access to it. This is the epitome of a what the hell to me. And I got to tell you, it's making me a little crazy that, it hit a little extra close to home for me. I live in Richmond, Virginia, and I grew up in Jersey City, New Jersey. People, we just got to do better. A second point, next week is the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day holiday. His birthday was on January 15, 1929, and we observe his day on the third Monday every single January. This year, some folks in our country have seen fit to commemorate the holiday by having parties and clubs and the like. Not so bad, right? Wrong. These people are having parties and creating flyers that I'm sure Dr. King would not approve of. I seen flyers and I made a choice not to post them. But the most offensive flyer that I've seen depicts Dr. King in a king's hat with gold chains around his neck and gaudy rings on his fingers. Also has Nicki Minaj standing on both sides of him, scantily clad with the caption "Free at Last," indicating that the party is free until midnight. People, seriously? This is Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., y'all. And I know I was raised right, and I got sense, and I assume my crew and our listeners do as well. But who the hell thought it was a good idea to denigrate one of the greatest leaders in the history of the world this way? Are we so thirsty to make an impact and a dollar that nothing is off limits? The people that made this fly and others like it are so way off base on this one. I question whether they have any morals or if anything would be off limits in the interest of making a dollar. I'm just so glad it made it to me and others like me so that I can express this outrage. Some folks have said they don't blame them. They blame the folks that raised them. I understand that, but there has to be a level of common sense applied. I wonder if the folks who thought this was cool would feel the same way if somebody white did it. Because we know black folks always get riled up when somebody white do something wrong to them. Never mind who messed up, who's messing up here. We always want to kind of get a little crazy. I could never understand how we can inflict such damage on ourselves but get all indignant when white folks do us dirty. That's the epitome of punk, passive-aggressive, and ignorance in my book. And wrong is wrong, dumb is dumb, and inappropriate is inappropriate no matter who is doing it. As I stated before, people, you just got to do better. That's the Murray Marcus' unrelated rant. That ain't got nothing to do with what we in here talking about tonight. I want to thank everybody once again for listening to our show. I want to remind you that independence is key to building your legacy. Also want to say peace to all the stars and all the squares. In the abundance of water, the fool is thirsty. Those are the words of Bob Marley, who you hear singing in the background. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. Be back here next week, y'all. Peace.